Children, today we will discuss the next portion of non-cooperation movement. How did non-cooperation movement unfold midst the tribal peasants? So our topic for today is tribal peasants and non-cooperation movement. When I'm talking about tribal peasants, I am talking about the forest people, the people who dwell near the forest areas. So now our question for discussion is, how did these tribal peasants interpret the message of Mahatma Gandhi and the idea of Swaraj? Well, children, these tribal peasants also understood and interpreted the idea of Swaraj in their own way. The way peasants understood it in their own ways, they thought that they won't have to pay revenue, um, uh, they won't have to do begar, then land will be redistributed to them. So in the same way, the tribal peasants also understood it in their own way. So why they understood it like this, or why they interpreted it like this, for that we'll have to understand the living conditions, the life situation of the tribal peasants. Now, all of you know that the Britishers, they had implemented forest laws, and as for forest laws, forest was divided into reserved forests, village forests, protected forests, and this way the people living near the forests actually did not have much access to the forests, where earlier they used to go and gather fruit, etc., etc. Now, what happened? A colonial government had closed large forest areas. So therefore, the tribal peasants, they could not enter the forest, they could not graze cattle there, they could not collect firewood, they could not collect fruit from there, and this way their livelihood was affected. Earlier they were earning from there, but now they could not earn anything from the forest. And not only their livelihood was affected, they also thought that their traditional right that was being denied to them. They are forest dwellers. They have a traditional right to enter the forest, gather fruit, firewood, graze their animals, etc. But it was denied to them. And not only this, on top of it, the British government forced them to contribute to Begar. Begar, for Begar, I have already told you, when somebody is forced to work without payment. So British government asked them to do begar for building roads. These roads they needed for themselves. The British government, they wanted effective communication. They wanted to commute from one place to another place quickly. They wanted to strengthen their administration. They wanted to move their military faster from one place to another place. For this, they needed good connectivity, and for this, they were laying roadways and railways in India. And to make these roads, they were forcing the tribal people to do bekar. Hence, when non-cooperation movement unfolded, the hill people revolted, and but usually this revolt was violent, whereas Mahatma Gandhi wanted non-cooperation movement to be non-violent. Now we will talk about a particular case of Godam Hills in Andhra Pradesh. So what happened in Godam Hills in Andhra Pradesh? More or less the same happened in other tribal belts of India. So now Godam Hills, they were in Andhra Pradesh in 1920, when non-cooperation movement was launched, 1921. So in 1920, a militant guerrilla movement spread in Godam Hills. Now, these rebels attacked police stations, they attempted to kill British, and they carried on guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare is usually they hide in the forest, and when they see the enemy coming, they may shoot them with arrows, they may shoot them with harpoons, they may throw big rocks at them. So there are various ways of guerrilla warfare, and they want and so there started a guerrilla warfare to achieve Swaraj. But this is not what Mahatma Gandhi or what Congress had asked for, and hence it was not a form of struggle that Congress could approve of. Now we will talk about a very important person Alluri Sitaram Raju. So here is your question. Write a note on Alluri Sitaram Raju and his contributions toward during non-cooperation movement. Children, Alluri Sitaram Raju, he was the one who led the movement in Goddam Hills for the tribal peasants. He was a very interesting figure, interesting character. He claimed that he had special powers. Special powers like he could make correct astrological predictions, he could heal people, and even if he is hit by a bullet, he could survive bullet shot. And hence he had huge fan following. He had many followers who believed in him, and they believed that he was the incarnation of God. Alluri was so impressed by Mahatma Gandhi that he became an ardent fan of Mahatma Gandhi and a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. And he asked people to wear khadi, and he asked them to give up drinking. The one thing where he was different from Mahatma Gandhi was Mahatma Gandhi was a champion of non-violence, ahimsa, whereas Alluri believed that if we want to get rid from the British rule, then we have to use force and we have to use violence. Through non-violence, we cannot get rid from the British rule. So over here we talked about how non-cooperation movement spread amongst the tribal peasants, and then we talked about the case of Goddam Hills, and we talked about the role played by Alluri Sitaram Raju. Now we will discuss the next topic, that is Swaraj in the plantations. Plantations, you know, children, in your geography also, so many times you have come across this term plantation. Plantation is usually huge land area where one kind of a crop is grown for commercial purposes, for example, tea plantation. Now, our question for discussion is, workers too had their own understanding of Mahatma Gandhi and the notion means idea of Swaraj. And here we are on page 60, means workers also interpreted the idea of non-cooperation movement and Swaraj basically in their own way. So here again, the interpretation, or they interpreted it like this because of their life, the way they were living their life. So we have to know the ground reality, what kind of life they were leading and what were their grievances. So over here, first of all, we will talk about Inland Immigration Act of 1859. Now, under this act, plantation workers, they were not permitted to leave the tea gardens without permission. Usually, you know what used to happen? Uh, they used to take lots of people, lots of workers from India, outside India, as well as in those areas of India where there were plantations. For that, they used to sign an agreement with the workers that they will be given a place to live and they will be given these much of wages, etc. However, they could not leave the plantation without permission. But basic reality was different. This permission was hardly given to them, and secondly, promised wages were also not given, and they were actually kept in kind of a imprisonment. They could not move out from the plantations. Now, so they had to live in those enclosed areas and they could not keep any link with the village or with their families. Now, for plantation workers in Assam, freedom or Swaraj, what was the meaning of freedom or Swaraj? Swaraj, definitely. They thought that Swaraj meant they will get a right to move freely in and out of plantation, because this was their problem. This is what they were suffering from. So first they thought Swaraj meant moving in and out of the plantations freely. Then they could keep relation, they could keep a link with the village from where they had come. And many a time they even thought that when they will go back, they might get land in their own places. So now what did they do when they heard about non-cooperation movement? What happened? How did non-cooperation movement develop there? Now, workers, they started defying the authorities. They left plantations. They started going back home. They thought they will get, as I told you, land in their own village. So now, children, our question is this what Mahatma Gandhi or the Congress was telling? Is it what they were, the Congress had visualized or Congress had anticipated? No. Now, but these plantation workers, they were not able to reach their destination because they were means their villages, they had started from the plantations, they thought they will go back to their villages, but they were not able to go reach their the villages because there was a railway and steamer strike. So neither through waterways nor through railways they could come back home. So it so happened that they were caught by the police, they were beaten up brutally, and they were brought back to the plantations. Now we will talk about limitations of non-cooperation movement. One thing must be very clear to you, that the concept of Swaraj, the vision of Swaraj, it was not clear to the people. Everybody was interpreting it in their own way as per according to their need, their situation, their grievances, etc. And that was the biggest limitation of non-cooperation movement. So when we talk about limitation of non-cooperation movement, we are on page 60 or page 61. So the first limitation is that vision of non-cooperation was not defined by the Congress program. It was not very clearly told to the people what exactly is the vision. Therefore, people interpreted Swaraj in their own way. For them, Swaraj was a time, a period, or a situation when their all sufferings will come to an end, where the troubles will be over. For example, peasants, they thought they will get, they won't have to pay revenue, they will get land. Tribals thought that they will be able to enter the forest again. They will start gathering fruit, fuel, wood, etc., etc. And plantation, they thought that they will be able to move freely. But we cannot say that NCM was not successful. Non-cooperation movement was highly successful because it could bring the people together. These were the struggles where wholeheartedly Indian from all regions or speaking all languages, everybody participated, and this resulted in uh, developing a sense of collective belonging in them. All felt that we are Indians and we have to fight against British, and this was the great success. So there were more struggles, and ultimately Indians were able to get independence. So it was a magical moment when all the people would chant uh, the name of Mahatma Gandhi, and they would raise slogans, Swatantra Bharat. So all these were magical, enchanting moments, and all the Indians, they came together. And why they came together? Why did they develop sense of collective belonging? Because of the struggles like non-cooperation movement. So non-cooperation movement was successful. It brought the people together. Now, our the last question for the topic is why Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non cooperation movement. Children, non violence. Mahatma Gandhi wanted it to be non violent. He wanted ahimsa, he wanted satyagraha, he wanted satyagrahis. So, Gandhi felt movement was turning violent in many places. Now, for example, in Godam Hills, it was happening in the villages. People were looting bazaars, they were fighting with each other, they were looting the houses of the landlords. So, there was violence. Now, there was one particular incident, that is the incident in Chauri Chaura in Gorakhpur district of a united province of British India. 5th May 1922. There was a peaceful procession of the people, uh, and they were moving forward, they were marching, and there was a clash with the police. Police opened fire at them. Not only this, the Indian, the ones who, the satyagrahis there, we can say. What did they do? They set one police station on fire, and there were 22 policemen there, and they were burned there. And this was something that nobody could actually bear. And Mahatma Gandhi decided to call off non-cooperation movement because it was turning violent. He thought that satyagrahis needed to be trained. They were not well trained. And then within Congress also, some leaders were tired of the mass movement and they wanted to participate in the elections to the provincial councils that had been set up by the Government of Indian Act of 1919, and hence Mahatma Gandhi called off non-cooperation movement. So here we finish with non-cooperation movement. And children, the question that you have to write in your classwork copy is, first 3-mark question, why Mahatma Gandhi called off non-cooperation movement. Second question that you will write, how did non-cooperation movement develop in plantations? And third question you will write, tribal people understood non-cooperation movement in their own way. All these questions are already given to you in the topic, and this is what you have to write. Thank you.